come with me to see Dominion, which is showing at the Newport Gallery in Vauxhall at the moment. This is a show, it's curated by Hirst, Damien Hirst's son. Now, the first piece we just saw that I briefly went past was The Inhaler, which meant a lot to me being an asthmatic, and I just really enjoyed seeing it. And then this following piece that we just actually had a quick peek at, I also really just, it stood out to me. And at this point I didn't realise that it was done by the same artist as the Hurricane Nurse as well, which also stood out to me. They're both completely different styles, and yet it's interesting how they both spoke to me. It wasn't the first time looking at among this room of great artists, really mixed controversial pieces, that I didn't just pick one, I picked two pieces from the same artist, whether it was a different style or not. So this one by Marcus Harvey, I really was fascinated because it kind of just looked like you was peeking through a frosted glass door, but when you look closely you can actually see this is painted, this is actual paint, and it's panels done within a door frame that has been hand painted, and the glass has been taken out to make this frosted look of somebody's on the toilet, and you almost having this peekaboo moment. And at the same time, this artist is the same artist, Marcus Harvey, who done this. This is in 1995, so I remember being a child when this actually appeared, and it was all over the newspapers. Anyone who's old enough to remember will remember the actual controversy, and anyone who's not, honestly, let me tell you, this was something that made the news. It was famously notorious known that Myra Hindley, who the subject was, didn't want nothing to do with this picture, and she also asked for it to be actually taken down and not on display. I haven't thought about this picture in a long while, but it has came to my memory now and again as a controversial piece, and this is when art could really shock. The hands are actually child's handprints making up this kind of print of her face when you stand back. Now, I used to always think what the sickest thing was is did they get loads of children to do it, but actually what I found out they done is use a cast of a child's hand and then use that cast almost like a paintbrush to make this effect. The skill is incredible, though I do find it unnerving, and I'm strangely fascinated and shocked. This one, I really like the absence of a face in the actual picture. For me, sometimes we spend so much time with selfies and stuff, it's quite interesting just to look at the pose. And then going on to Sarah Lucas. As you would have seen in my previous videos, I am a Sarah Lucas fan, and when I saw the Bunny Girl, I loved this. Especially Bunny Girl 2, because I was trying to work out if this was done in her studio or what was going on. In the background, this was, for me, quite a beautiful piece to actually see photographed, and also to see the actual same piece in real. So this particular piece here, I just really enjoyed, and considering the first room was full of so much controversial shock factor art pieces that would have really made news headlines back in the days when they came out, to see that was just relaxing and calming. This Saxon piece here that felt like I should be in a museum or something also just made me feel like, yes, you can tell this is Damien Hirst's gallery, with this trophy skull that was there, and that's a little bit about it. Moving on to the next room, we have Francis Bacon's Crucifixion. This one is quite morbid, but I always find the actual subject of a crucifixion is because people forget it was a torture method. We're going into a bit more religious territory now, where you've got the Madonna feeding a child, and you've got the poison, and it makes me wonder what Banksy's full message was. I would love if Banksy was in the interview and we could find out. Rachel Howard is another artist, and this is not the type of art I'd normally pick, but this really stood out to me, and just how clear. That's why I wanted to capture an angle so you could actually see how it was. Back to Sarah Lucas. There was quite a few Sarah Lucas pieces here. It's going to be another two after these, but This particular piece here, the boots, I was thinking, what's going on? Why has she got the boots and with this mouth? And when you look closely at the toes, you can see it's razor blades, which I'm just trying to focus in on there. So it's boots with this razor blades, and when you look up at these kind of dirty paint workman style boots that are really bashed in, and then you actually look at the mouth with a cigarette, it's like a really aggressive form of Sarah Lucas, and I liked the energy it was giving off, including this piece here by her. And I would say it's more one of her angrier pieces, and I just find her a very fascinating woman actually, in how she deals with image. This piece ticks through. I spent walking in and out the doorway, going by where the bathrooms was, looking like a creep for ages, trying to find it from the map, and didn't realise it was what was the exit sign, but it wasn't the exit sign obviously, and just played on my eyes. So that's a little bit of a joke for me, but if you do go there, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes. Now this artist, forgive me for not knowing them, but this was the first time I actually saw their work, and I was just captured by it. From the kind of Native Americanness, it almost had a sense of Banksy and Basquiat, that kind of street style graffiti way as well, but also had a form of, like, it could be in somebody's notebook or it's actually a tattoo artist. It was really, really beautiful to see. I love this horse bit here, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a fan of horses. This is a self-portrait of hair, which is an interesting one. I was more thinking about that caged hair, the way it was frayed around, the mice rolling into it, the bird going down to hunt the mice, and all this kind of wildness going on. It was a really interesting piece. I really enjoyed this. Very surrealist in a way, and I was wondering what was going on with the man behind. This piece is a play on the 90s, when famously was an artist who stuck a banana on the actual wall, and then later on somebody ate it. This is actually not a real banana, it's actually cast, and it's a trompe-l'oeil effect. Going back onto Banksy Lenkin, so I'm really glad for these warnings, because they just help me when doing my film as well, because normally I would have to put those up, and I know some of these pieces are controversial. This one I really just found really pretty. There's no reason otherwise I picked it. I would love to pretend it was an intelligent reason with the blue. I did read something that reminded me of a thought of it's probably to do with crystal meth, but then I was like, oh gosh, but I just like the sparkliness. This particular one, now moving on to Damien Hirst. This I just feel is just so underrated. This is Biotin Propanol Analog, and it was done in 1995. It's a household gloss on canvas. Now, for me, the scale alone at 132 times 240 inches is incredible. But when you look closely, this is a bit that I want to show you, is you can see these kind of hand gloss painted strokes. And one of the things that I love when I actually see Hirst's work in real life, which never conveys on the books, is the things that get trapped in the actual paint. The fact that he uses stuff like household matte and gloss, the fact that you can see bugs, hairs, strokes and whatever all go into par there. Now we're moving on to Banksy's Stop and Search Basquiat, and I'm showing you the back on purpose because I just love seeing this support structure and actually how it's framed. Seeing the reverse is, to me, as interesting as seeing the actual front. Now I remember when this piece came out, again this was controversy. This was actually with the whole stop and search system that was going on. I was living in an area of South London at the time where there was a lot of this going on, and some people being innocently actually targeted for stop and search. So Banksy is subject to this. using Basquiat as a subject and making you think would they have picked him, and just using this iconic imagery was, to me, really good. It got conversation happening. That's what art should happen. Again, this particular piece by Peter Halley, portrait of Jean-Charles Castleback in Paris 1997. I just love the colours. I love the brightness. I love the energy. And for no other reason than that, I picked it, and I hope you enjoy looking at it as well. This particular piece was called Pagan Music, and I thought, what a creepy title, but I actually really adored the piece. And now we're moving on to Sarah Lucas My Head. This one got me really excited, and I was speaking to somebody in the gallery and they said what was my favourite piece, and I said this was one of them, and they went, oh. And I said, but have you considered that this is made out of concrete? Now concrete is made obviously as a form for buildings, but it's not there to make sculptures, and it would be really hard to work on. And they're like, oh, I didn't think of that, and that's the reason why I love it so much. Moving on to the neon coffin that she has, I have seen another one of these in a recent gallery somewhere, which was in a purple, so it's nice to see them in a different colour blue as well. It's kind of eerie, especially when you walk around it. And the tone of this room was a little bit darker, actually, I'm not going to lie. So you've got The Loud Silence by John Copeland, and here it almost felt like so much was going on. These men, this woman just kind of laying there bare, exposed to all the drippiness of the paints. I'd love to know more about this one, actually. And the next piece we're going to move on to is one that I actually personally found distressing, but still shared anyway, which is Andy Warhol Electric Chair. This series of prints that he actually done of Electric Chair, I don't know if the message was for him against a chair or for the chair, but I just found it very distressing, and the fact that this is actually an image that someone would want to put up, but I also was drawn to it, so it hence me showing. When back to Wes Lang. Wes Lang is somebody I'm really excited about. I didn't know this artist, as I said before, and seeing another Wes Lang painting here, I was like, this is my style of artist. I'm really enjoying this, and here's another one. This one, ever since the world began, I just got completely into it. It felt like I was in his brain. It was a sketch pad. It was lots going on, from the bat skulls to a tattoo bits, which I mentioned earlier. It reminded me of tattoo styles, to a butterfly. So much going on here. It's a little bit about death and age. And it's just like mini paintings upon mini paintings to make, and sketches to make one overall painting. It's quite impressive. It almost feels like a sketchbook, but when you stand back from a distance you can take it all in as one full image as well. It doesn't look too sparse or too sporadic. So this particular piece, Can't Beat the Feeling with Banksy, was actually quite haunting. I remember when this came out and questioning this one, and it's got the kind of idea of capitalism and men's struggle, and it was a lot going on. It also just saw Tracy Emin, which just flashed by me too quickly, apologies. It was just not showing up on the writing, but I really loved that. So if you want to go back, pause it and read the words, it's really worth doing. And now we are in the Damien Hirst Cafe. This was a lovely spot where I could actually take in more of his artwork and his books, and just really have time to digest all these magnificent artists that I've seen and grown up with. That was just sensational with what they caused. And then looking at his merch, a couple of pieces of this I've already got, and I did buy a couple of badges because I lost my previous one recently. And I hope you enjoyed watching this show, and thank you so much for watching. Leave the comments as always, I love them.